I'm Abigail, and this is something I have never said out loud until now. When I was 16, my parents left me at a train station. Not because they lost track of time, not because they forgot. They left me on purpose. It happened on one of those heavy, blistering July afternoons, the kind where the sun makes your skin stick to car seats and the air feels thick enough to chew. I remember leaning against the back seat window, half asleep, music in my ears, zoning out while my parents sat in the front seat bickering about gas prices or the way my mom talked to the waiter earlier. That kind of thing. Nothing new. We were driving back from a visit to my sister. Well, their golden child, Madison. She was already in college, had a boyfriend they adored, a resume full of honors. She could do no wrong. Meanwhile, I was just there. The one they criticized, compared, corrected. I stopped trying to please them years ago. When the car slowed down near a faded little train station off some quiet Georgia road, I didn't think much of it. It looked like it hadn't been used properly in decades. Just a couple of old vending machines outside, and a bench that sagged in the middle. My dad, Samuel, didn't even look back. He just muttered, "Grab me a soda." I blinked. What? My mom turned in her seat. All fake smiles. "Get your father a drink, sweetheart. And a water for me." There was no point arguing. I was tired and too used to doing what they said just to avoid making things worse. I grabbed a crumpled bill from my pocket and stepped out into the heat, the sun hitting me like a slap. The vending machines whirred and groaned before finally coughing up a lukewarm soda and a dusty bottle of water. I turned around, drinks in hand, expecting to see the car. But the lot was empty. Completely empty. For a second, I froze. I scanned the lot again. Maybe they moved. Maybe this was a joke. Then my phone buzzed. A text from my mom. "Let's see how long it takes you to get home. Consider this a lesson in problem solving." My throat went dry. I tried calling. Straight to voicemail. Again. Nothing. And in that moment, standing alone in the sun with sweat dripping down my back and a soda shaking in my hand, I knew. They weren't coming back. It should have shattered me. But all I felt was this strange, calm rage. They had done things like this before. Locked me out during storms. Made me walk miles for forgetting chores. This was just a bigger, crueler version. I had $140 in my pocket for my part-time job. Not much, but enough to get somewhere. To not go back. I did the one thing they told me not to. I called Aunt Lila. The phone rang twice. "Abigail?" Her voice, sharp with concern. I swallowed. "Can you help me?" Just 5 words. But they were the first step toward surviving. Toward becoming me. The bus ride was long, the kind that makes your legs ache and your mind spiral. I sat by the window, gripping my bag like it was the only thing tethering me to the earth. And it was everything I had, $140. A change of clothes, and a fading photograph of me and Aunt Lila from when I was 9. I didn't cry. Not once. I think part of me had been preparing for that moment my whole life. Aunt Lila took me in without hesitation, but she didn't have much. I got a job waitressing by the highway and picked up shifts at a gas station on weekends. Eventually added a 3rd job cleaning offices at night. I slept maybe 4 hours a day, lived off microwave noodles and stale coffee. When I finally scraped together enough to enroll in community college, I was 20 and exhausted. But I kept going. No one was cheering for me. No one showed up when I graduated. But I didn't need applause. Every step forward was my middle finger to the people who left me behind. I didn't become successful out of luck. I earned it. Eventually, I moved to Austin. The jobs got better. I found my footing in construction development, first as a project assistant, then as a coordinator, and eventually, I started pitching my own designs. People listened. Investors came on board. 1 deal became 2. 2 became 20. And just like that, Haven Developments was born. Now I sit behind the glass walls of my corner office, looking out over the skyline I helped build. The name on the door is mine. The staff listens when I speak. I am no longer that girl begging for kindness at a train station. But just when I thought I had left the past buried, it came clawing back. It started with my phone vibrating across the desk, over and over. I glanced at the screen. 39 missed calls. Unknown numbers. Blocked IDs. And then, one name I had not seen in over 2 decades.
Vivian.
The voicemail was short. Her voice trembled with something between panic and guilt. Abigail, please pick up. Mom and Dad, they found you. They need help. It's bad. Just call me back. Please. I set the phone down, heart steady, breath even. Vivian still called me Abby like nothing had happened. But everything had. I told her to meet me at Denny's.
5 in the morning.
No drama, no parents, no surprises. If she wanted to talk, it had to be on my terms. The place was mostly empty when I arrived, just a couple of truckers nursing bad coffee and a tired waitress wiping down menus. I slid into a corner booth, ordered black coffee, and waited. 5 minutes later, Vivian walked in. She looked older, worn down in a way that had nothing to do with age. Her hair was pulled into a messy bun, and her eyes scanned the diner like she was scared I might not show. Our eyes met, and for a split second, we were just two girls from the same broken childhood. But that moment passed. She walked over, lips pressed into a nervous smile. Hey, Abby. I didn't respond right away. Just took a slow sip of my coffee and met her eyes. I don't go by that anymore. Her smile faltered.
Right.
Sorry. She slid into the seat across from me, fidgeting with a sugar packet like it might unravel her nerves. It's been a long time, she said.
Yeah.
It has. She looked like she was searching for the right words, but none of them would land right. Finally, she let out a breath. Mom and Dad, they're in trouble. There it was. I raised an eyebrow. And they lost a lot, she said, rushing through her words. Dad's debts, Mom's medical bills, the house is in foreclosure. They don't know where to go. They need help. I leaned back, letting her desperation fill the space between us. Let me guess. You think I should help them? They're still our parents, Abigail.
No.
They're your parents. I stopped belonging to them the day they left me behind. Vivian flinched. They came back, she said quietly. After an hour. They thought you'd come home. I stared at her, disbelief tightening my chest. They thought I'd walk back after they abandoned me on a cracked parking lot like garbage? They were trying to teach you a lesson. A lesson? My voice cut sharper than I intended. Do you hear yourself? Vivian's eyes dropped to the table. Her fingers shook slightly. They thought you'd be stronger for it. I exhaled slowly, the kind of breath you take when you're trying not to explode. I didn't get stronger because of them, Vivian. I got stronger despite them. Silence stretched between us. She looked like she wanted to cry. I didn't care. I'm not asking you to forgive them, she whispered. I'm just asking you to not hate them. I reached into my coat pocket, pulled out some cash, and dropped it on the table. I don't hate them, Vivian. I don't feel anything at all. She looked up at me, eyes glistening. They're nothing to me, I said, standing. And if they try to contact me again, I won't be this polite. Then I walked out. And I didn't look back. It started with a ping. Then another. Then 20 more. At first, I ignored them. My phone had been buzzing all week. Vivian, old numbers, unknown callers trying to dig their way through the walls I had built. But then Jenny, my assistant, walked in. Her face was tight with concern. She held her phone out like it was something toxic. You need to see this. It was Facebook. My parents had posted a picture of me from high school, smiling in a graduation gown I barely remembered wearing. The caption read, "Our daughter abandoned us in our old age after everything we sacrificed for her. We raised her to be strong, and this is how she repays us, by turning her back on her own family." Below it were paragraphs, elaborate stories, half-truths twisted into emotional daggers. Words like heartless, ungrateful, spoiled. They painted themselves as victims, as loving parents discarded by their selfish, money-hungry daughter. It had been shared over 400 times in less than a day. The comments made my stomach churn. Disgusting. How can someone do this to their own parents? Kids these days have no loyalty. If I were her, I'd be ashamed to show my face. And then, worse, tags. People tagging Haven Developments, my company. leaving reviews accusing me of being a fraud, of stealing from my own family to build my success. A few clients had already pulled back from projects. One emailed to pause discussions until this situation is clarified. Inside my office, I sat staring at the screen while the storm raged online. I wanted to scream, break something,
Run.
but I didn't. Instead, I closed my eyes and let the weight of it settle. They were trying to ruin me. Not just my name, my work, my life. Everything I had built with blood and bone and sleepless nights. And for a moment, I almost let them. But I had survived worse. I wasn't 16 anymore, standing on a cracked parking lot with a soda in my hand and betrayal sitting like a rock in my gut. I was stronger, sharper. I opened my laptop. I went to my company's official page, to my personal one, to anywhere they had dragged my name through the mud, and I posted the truth. Some people rewrite history to escape accountability. I won't let them. When I was 16, my parents left me at a train station with no way home. That wasn't a mistake. It was a lesson. For 20 years, they had no interest in my life, until I built something they could take from me. I won't be silent so others can stay comfortable. I survived them. And I will survive this. I hit post. Within an hour, it was everywhere. Some people defended me. Others called it too much. Some doubted the story. Most were stunned. But the tide shifted. Support came pouring in. People with similar stories. Messages of strength. Clients who said they admired my courage. And just when I thought the chaos might settle, Jenny buzzed my office again. "They're here," she said, voice low. "Your parents. They're in the lobby." I stood slowly, my blood cold. Of course they came. They always show up when the truth burns too bright. The lobby was full that morning, clients waiting for meetings, staff grabbing coffee, interns whispering by the elevators. I had barely finished my first sip when the intercom crackled. "Abigail," Jenny said, her voice strained, "there's an elderly couple here. They say they're your parents." My stomach turned. I stood, straightened my blazer, and made my way downstairs. The moment I stepped into the lobby, I saw them. Miriam, my mother, was in full performance mode. Tissue clutched dramatically in hand, voice trembling as she dabbed dry eyes. Roger, my father, stood stiff beside her, jaw clenched, eyes scanning the room like he was daring someone to challenge him. "There she is," Miriam cried the moment she saw me, loud enough to turn every head in the building. "Our daughter. She won't even speak to her own parents." I stopped in my tracks. The room went quiet. Phones started recording. I could feel the heat of judgment rising around me like fog. "Abigail," Roger growled, stepping forward. "This is what you've become? Some cold-hearted executive too important for her own blood." "Leave," I said, voice calm. Miriam let out a sob, stumbling forward. "I gave birth to you," she wailed. "I raised you. I loved you. You abandoned me," I said flatly. "At a train station. On purpose." A wave of gasps echoed through the lobby. Roger's face flushed deep red. "You ungrateful brat. Everything you have is because of us." I stepped closer, eyes steady. "You are nothing to me." Security had already moved in, waiting for a signal. I gave them a nod. As they were escorted out, Miriam cried louder, reaching toward me like she was starring in a soap opera. Roger turned back, his voice sharp. "You'll regret this." I didn't flinch. "I already have." The doors shut behind them, but I knew they weren't done. 3 days later, Jenny walked in with a thick envelope. "It came by courier," she said softly. "From a law firm." I opened it slowly. Roger and Miriam Dalton versus Abigail Dalton. Claim, neglect under filial responsibility laws. I let out a bitter laugh. Of course. If emotional blackmail and public humiliation failed, they'd weaponize the law. I called my lawyer, Daniel, and met him within the hour. "They're reaching," he said, flipping through the papers. "Texas isn't strict about these laws, but technically, in some cases, they can try." "Try," I repeated, jaw tight. "They're counting on public pressure. On you settling. They're hoping the headlines scare you into compliance." He didn't say what we both knew. They had already bruised my reputation. But this was different. This wasn't just personal anymore. It was an attack on everything I had fought for. I nodded slowly. Then I won't stay silent. That night, I sat alone in my apartment and opened my laptop. I wrote it all. Not the filtered version. Not the polite one. The full truth. When I was 16, my parents left me at a train station with no phone, no ride, and no intention of coming back. They didn't call for days. They didn't file a missing persons report. They just left. Now, 20 years later, after having no relationship with me, they're suing me under laws meant to protect struggling parents, not ones who abandon their child. They want money. I want peace. I will not be bullied into silence. I am not the villain in their story. I'm just finally telling my own. I hit post. The world read it. Some cried. Some doubted. Some related. But this time, I controlled the story. By morning, the post had gone viral. Thousands of shares. Tens of thousands of comments. The same strangers who once called me cold, ungrateful, heartless, were now defending me. Telling their own stories. Offering support. Standing up for the 16-year-old girl who had been left behind like she didn't matter. This is beyond cruel. What kind of parents abandon their child and then try to sue her? I believed them at first. I was wrong. I'm so sorry. She doesn't owe them anything. She owes herself peace. I sat at my desk, reading each word slowly, as if I didn't trust them to be real. No more angry voicemails. No more guilt-laced texts. No more distant relatives offering unsolicited advice. The silence, for the first time, was golden. Vivian called me 2 days later. I let it ring twice before answering. Her voice was quiet, brittle. They lost everything, Abigail. The house. Their friends. Their name. People stopped answering their calls. They're saying it's your fault. I stared out the window at the skyline I helped build. It's not, I said flatly. It's theirs. They're saying you're cruel, she whispered. But they don't talk about what they did to you. No one ever really did. I didn't answer. She let out a shaky breath. They've got nowhere to go. Dad's drinking again. Mom's just not there anymore. They're falling apart. I looked down at the phone in my hand, then out at the sun rising over Austin. That's on them, I said. Not me. Vivian didn't argue this time. She just said, I thought you'd want to know. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Thank you. And that was it. I hung up and didn't feel angry, or bitter, or anything really. Later that evening, I took a different route home. I drove past my childhood house. The porch light was off. The lawn overgrown. A for sale sign leaned crooked in the yard. The shutters were chipped. The place that once felt like a cage now just looked small, like a shell, like something that never really belonged to me. I expected to feel something. Vindication. Grief. Nostalgia. But there was only peace. That house had never been my home. I built that for myself, brick by brick, mile by mile, mistake by painful mistake. I pulled over, just for a moment, and sat with the silence. No more weight on my chest. No more wondering what I could have done to be loved better. I opened my phone one last time. Scrolled to their names. Roger Dalton. Miriam Dalton. Block. Block. No second thoughts. No what-ifs. Just peace. Then I drove away. And I never looked back. The knock came just after sunset. I knew before I even opened the door. There was something about the silence that followed. Too heavy. Too familiar. Vivian stood on the other side, eyes swollen, shoulders slumped. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept in days. Like carrying their mess was finally too much. Abigail, her voice cracked. Please. They have no one. I didn't say anything. She stepped forward. They're still our parents. They're broken. They keep saying they just need one more chance. I kept my hand on the door. They're not well, she added, voice trembling. Dad's not eating. Mom just stares at the wall all day. They keep saying your name. They keep asking why. I took a deep breath and said what I had been holding in for years. I'm not responsible for fixing what they broke. Vivian's face crumpled. How can you be so cold? Because I was the one left at that station.
Not you.
Tears spilled down her cheeks. I don't want to lose my sister over this. I looked at her, really looked. You didn't lose me. They did. She opened her mouth again, but I gently shook my head. Take care of yourself, Vivian. Then I closed the door. No slam. No anger. Just a quiet click and closure. An hour later, I sat on my balcony, legs curled under me, a glass of wine in hand. The city buzzed below, golden lights stretching across the skyline like little heartbeats. The air was warm. The silence was real. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found the only name that ever made me feel safe. Aunt Marigold. I typed out a message.
Dinner this weekend.
My treat. Her reply came almost instantly. Finally. Mexican or Italian? I smiled, the kind that started slow but reached deep. Mexican. Extra margaritas. I leaned back in my chair, letting the breeze kiss my skin. The past was behind me now, finally quiet. Finally powerless. Before we end this story, let me leave you with something. For years, I carried the weight of a past I never asked for. I let guilt shape me. I let silence protect people who didn't deserve it. But here's what I've learned. Family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up when it matters. Who chooses you. Who loves without conditions. Walking away from pain doesn't make you weak. It makes you free. Setting boundaries isn't cruelty. It's survival. And choosing peace after years of chaos? That's liberation. So, if you've ever been made to feel guilty for choosing peace over family, let me tell you this. You don't owe anyone your suffering, no matter what name they go by. You deserve joy. You deserve rest. You deserve freedom. Drop a 1 in the comments if this story hit you. I want to hear your story too.